everyone, and welcome to this month's edition of the Fresh Forum. Now, I am super excited about today's topic. You may have seen GenoPalate inside of the store on signage. You may have eaten some of the meals and the sides over in our prepared food service department, or you may be brand new to GenoPalate. So if you know nothing about GenoPalate, this is a great webinar to join today. Through extensive research, GenoPalate, it decodes your DNA to provide tailored nutritional advice, linking genetic markers to health outcomes, and providing personalized food recommendations. Now, today, Frankie O'Brien, GenoPalate's lead dietitian, she'll be discussing dietitian-approved tips on how to personalize your grocery shopping. She'll also talk about guidance on how to choose which foods are best for your genetic makeup and how GenoPalate's partnership with Earth Fare can support your nutrition to fit your body's unique genetic needs. Now, Frankie is a registered dietitian with a master's degree in nutrition and dietetics from the University of Illinois at Chicago, and she's a certified specialist in sports dietetics. Now, her areas of expertise include mindful eating, weight management, performance nutrition, and she has experience helping others make sustainable changes to help them reach their long-term goals, including weight management, also improved performance and overall wellness. Now, I will remind you, we do have a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. There is a Q&A box located at the bottom of your screen. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, please make sure to put them inside of that section, and we will make sure to answer as many as we can towards the end. So without further ado, Frankie, thank you so much for joining us today. Super excited to have you.
Thank you, Laurie. Thanks for the introduction. Yes, I am really excited about our partnership with Earth Fare, and today I'm going to be talking a little bit about who we are as GenoPalate and how you can use your genetic insights into grocery shopping and helping with your health goals. Let's see if I can change this slide here. There we go. Yeah, and like Laurie mentioned, I'm the lead dietitian at GenoPalate, and I love working one-on-one with some of our members and kind of guiding them into how to use their genetic insights, tips around some of their top foods, and we'll kind of get into that a little bit more, and how to go towards their health goals. So I'm hoping that some of you saw us in the Earth Fare stores, but for those of you that are still curious about GenoPalate or want a little bit more information, I just want to do a kind of a quick brief rundown. So we are a personalized nutrition company based in DNA, and members can either take one of our DNA kits, it's a saliva kit, and we can get your DNA that way. Or if you have done 23andMe or Ancestry in the past, you can also submit that DNA information, and we are able to use that to make your nutrition analysis. So once you provide that information, we are then able to analyze that and come up with your nutrition recommendations. So for those macronutrients and micronutrients, and then we'll deliver that analysis either to like your web browser on your account on the web browser, or we also have an app where you can kind of get all of that information too. And I'll show you a little bit more about what that looks like too. So to kind of set the scene for how to grocery shop for your genetics, I wanted to kind of give you a little more insight into this. So basically, we are able to look at all of that nutrigenomic research that's been done and really kind of get those relationships for what the genes, that your specific genes are showing in terms of the nutrients that you'd benefit from getting more of. So with those different relationships, we're able to see in terms of different health outcomes, as well as potential deficiencies that people with your genetics might have. We're able to see that information and present that to you so that you have those insights into kind of guiding you for your nutrition needs. So kind of to break it down a little bit more, some of the insights will be based on health outcomes that they saw in the research. So for example, in some of the genes, they see positive outcomes with things like heart health, so LDL and HDL cholesterol levels, weight management, things like blood sugar control, and then different tolerance and sensitivity levels with a few different foods. So that's one kind of realm we look at. The other one is more so based in your efficiency or lack of efficiency at processing and absorbing certain nutrients. So that's where that kind of potential deficiency can come into play. So this graphic kind of helps break it down a little bit more. So if you look here to the left, you'll see the different genes. This is just a kind of short example. But then we have our genotypes. This is what really kind of makes us unique. So scientists have basically been able to determine like thousands and thousands of different genes that we have. And what makes us unique then is our genotype or the different variants in our genes. And so if you see here, we have, let's say, this AGT gene. And then in this case, the genotype is the AA variant for that AGT gene. And in the research, they saw that people had lower blood pressure when on that lower sodium diet if they had that AA genotype. So we're then able to see like, okay, and if someone has the AA genotype, their recommendations will be like X amount of sodium. And then we can further take into account now all the different foods that would kind of match that sodium recommendation. So we're taking all of these different genes and variants and then cross-referencing our food database. So we're looking at all the different nutrients in all the different foods we have. So really kind of matching it up in that sense. So as you can see here, the kiwi is matching with this person's genotype for more than just one reason. So that's kind of something unique about us, is we can really kind of not only give you your nutrition recommendations, but also provide you with food options to kind of help you along the way. So this is kind of a look at what the optimal foods list would look like in the app. As you can see, you'll have the different categories of foods, and then in each category of foods, you'll have the top foods for that category. Then we further kind of break it down. If you click into the food, you'll see where the different nutrients matched for. So like as you can see here on the bottom, there'd be a check mark for the nutrient in that food and the amount of nutrients that you need. And then we'd kind of call that a match. And the more check marks or matches a food has for you, the higher it gets to the top of your list. So that way, this is kind of a great way to really just start in terms of foods to kind of focus on. So these kind of can be, in a sense, some of the focus foods or optimal foods to start with. Now, and when it comes to grocery shopping, that's kind of the, again, breakdown of how we get your nutrient recommendations, how we get your foods list. So when it comes now to grocery shopping for your DNA, I kind of want to back it up and start with kind of general grocery shopping tips. I've had a lot of years with working with people and kind of having to navigate the different kind of obstacles that come up when it comes to grocery shopping. And so there's a few kind of tips I've gathered along the way. But the first thing that I'd start with is kind of here, these questions to ask before grocery shopping. Now, the first thing that often gets overlooked is going to be, how many meals do I need to plan for? So oftentimes we think, oh, yep, I just kind of need the whole week. But really, if you kind of break it down, think about, do you have any dinners out? Do you have like work lunches or, anything that's already planned for that? In that case, you're not going to have to cook for that meal. Make sure to take that into account. And then once you have the meals that you're going to need, think about now, what types of meals are they? So is it dinners that I have to make, or lunches, breakfast? Kind of get a rough idea of what types of meals. And then another really important one, what time constraints do I have? So do you have time to like make an elaborate recipe, or maybe you have a busy week, so now you really have to, get some of those more quick 30-minute meals, or even quicker than those, to kind of get an idea of how much time you have. And then another one I find people forget about a lot, including me, is how will I remember my planned meals? So let's say you laid out this plan of what you're going to cook. Now, how are you either going to remember what that was, or even like, I find that, let's say people have the best intentions, they cook their lunch, they pack it, they're going to bring it, and then they forget it at home. So how are you going to remember to actually eat and prepare the foods that that you planned on? And then the other one, I would say, what are my go-to or backup meals? So I know life happens and things change and that happens. So have a couple, or even just one go-to backup meal for if something goes wrong, something doesn't go as planned. So you have some sort of option. So for me, like for example, my go-to is always breakfast for dinner. So like I'll just throw whatever I have in my fridge, make an omelet, and call it a day. But just have kind of something in the back of your mind just in case. That would be my suggestion. So these are kind of, again, before even diving into what you're going to grocery shop for, I'd kind of start here. And then when it comes to what types of foods to kind of put in your cart, I also like to think about it in this way. So this nice little graphic, you might see this in an Earth Fare store, hopefully soon. But you'll see, here's just kind of a general guideline that I like to follow. So aim for about 50% of your cart to be produce. So this would be really any of those fruits and vegetables. Now, of course, yes, it can be your fresh fruits and vegetables, but this would also include things like frozen fruits and vegetables, canned, any of those things would count as produce. And then about 25% of your cart would be that protein. So whether it's meat, seafood, eggs, or some dairy products will also be included in that category. And then starch. So starch would be like your rice, potatoes, pasta, bread, any of those more starchy foods would be that. And then healthy fats, I don't necessarily have a percentage I aim for here, but that would be things like your avocado, oils, nuts and seeds. So just making sure you round out your grocery cart so you kind of get all the necessary nutrients here. That's just kind of a nice way I like to think about it. Now that we have kind of an idea of what the cart would look like, you've got the meals you need, you kind of have an idea. Here's where we can kind of really bring in now your specific needs. So like I had mentioned earlier, because the foods list was truly designed to help you meet the nutrients that your body needs more of, this is going to be a great place to start. So some people might simply just make substitutions with their food list. So this is like, for example, if you make yogurt bowls in the morning, could you add like blackberries, your top fruit, or maybe it's one of your top nuts or seeds into your yogurt bowl, just starting to kind of incorporate some of those foods in slowly. That's just a wonderful way to start too. Another option could be to like specifically seek out recipes using one or two of these top foods. So let's say I got tuna on my foods list and I haven't eaten it before, then I could kind of look into maybe some tuna recipes that look good and really kind of work around it in that way. So that's one kind of way, just simply kind of using some of these foods list, some of the foods on the list. The other thing I like to do is, I guess, just kind of keep an open mind too when you're grocery shopping. So if you do you have your recipes, you've planned out which meals you need. Now you get to the store and you don't see what you need. Then yeah, Earth Fare employees are going to be wonderful for like helping you find some substitutions or maybe pivoting on some of those meals. So I guess too, another helpful thing is like I'd mentioned, looking for recipes ahead of time and meal ideas. So that could simply be Googling, searching for some of the meals that look interesting to you, again, that follow your time constraints, or anything that sounds good and just kind of works in your current needs for the week. The other thing that I find helpful is creating a list before you go. So I do like to break it down into kind of separate days. So I like to have one day dedicated to looking up the recipes, making that grocery list, and really kind of using that day, or chunk of the day, just to kind of dedicate it to that. That often can take a lot of time, and sometimes by that time you're done like preparing and planning, you can kind of feel like, all right, that was a lot of work. So then I like to dedicate a separate day for the actual grocery shopping. If that's not realistic, that's perfectly fine, but that's just if possible, I do like to break it up. That way you have your dedicated day for grocery shopping and you can go in and do that. Now, an important thing I also don't like to forget is to grocery shop your own pantry. So when you are looking at your recipes and kind of making that grocery list, double check, make sure you don't already have something in your pantry. You wouldn't want to double buy something if you don't need to. That can maybe even inspire you for other meals too, to see what you have in your pantry already or in your fridge, things like that. Also, I love to have like a weekly staple list. So one that, every week you need, let's say, bananas, you like those in the morning, or you have spinach that you like to make sure you have around. Just kind of a list that maybe it doesn't change week to week. You're going to always be purchasing those. It is nice to kind of have, all right, my list will stay the same at least for this much, and then it just kind of helps it a little bit. And then, if possible, shopping the Earth Fair sales too. So if you kind of look through, see what's going to be on sale that week, get an idea, can also inspire you. Like double check, see if there's some of those foods also on your foods list. And shopping in season, of course, is great. Can help with the cost and freshness of the food too. And then for those of you who haven't seen, we do have a prepared meal program at Earth Fair now. So we were able to curate health-focused meals. So these are meals that they aren't specifically geared towards your specific DNA necessarily, but they are tailored to the two wellness goals: healthy weight and athletic performance. So we really made sure to, when creating these recipes, think about the different nutrients in the food that's going to support both either healthy weight or athletic performance. And those ones will be in either the deli case or the ready to eat meal section. So those are wonderful ways too, for like, if you have a week that you're really busy, you may not have all the time to prepare and cook all these different meals. That's a wonderful option too. Even you might notice some of the foods that are in your top foods list will be in here too. The other thing we do offer too, if you wanted some further personalization, is going to be either the personalized recipes. So we do offer recipes that are tailored to your specific foods list. And that's going to be a great way to, especially if you have some foods you're not sure what to do with, we can really customize them to you. And then we do have a complimentary one-on-one consultation with the dietitian that we offer. So this is another area where members really can kind of dive into their specific results, gain a little more understanding, and then even get some ideas on how to actually use those results in their daily life too. So yes, now I think can open it for questions.
Yeah, thank you so much, Frankie. That was great information. We do have a lot of questions in the chat room, so I will go ahead and turn it over to the Earth Fair moderator, and we'll get started.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. We'll dive right in. We have a question here that came up early on in the presentation, Frankie, when you were talking about the process of working with GenoPalate.
Yeah.
And she wants to understand better the security and privacy of submitting DNA, how you store it, how secure it is, how long is it there, all that good stuff.
Great question. Yeah, so it is top priority for us to make sure that everything is secure and private. So we have a whole privacy policy on our website that has more details about that for sure. Also, it's up if forever or for whatever reason, if you decided you wanted to like cancel or delete the account, make sure all your information was deleted, we can always do that too. But yeah, definitely top priority for us.
And then as a follow-up to that, about once you submit your test or your DNA, how long does it take to get the report?
Yeah, so if you use the DNA kit, it's about a 4 to 6 week process. So you'll send that saliva sample in. We then will do all the analyzation and all that behind the scenes work. And then, yeah, so about 4 to 6 week process. If you do the existing DNA, that is only about a 24-hour process because everything that we needed is really already there. It's already been analyzed. So it's a little quicker.
And so they can order a kit either online or in Earth Fare stores in the wellness section. Is that correct?
Yes, in the wellness section, there are QR codes that they would just kind of put their phone up to with the camera, and that would lead you to the website. So yeah, it still would be online. They're not in the store at this time.
Excellent, thank you. And then, so for all of this information that comes into the app, can you talk about how many different foods the app has analyzed? What's the breadth of ingredients that might come up in these reports?
Great question. So I think our foods list right now is just under 400 foods. We're currently working on improving that and kind of making it a little more robust even. So there's lots of different foods to be looked at. And then in terms of genes, it's over 100 different genes that we're analyzing. So lots of great kind of things to connect it with. But yeah, lots of different foods. Some people will notice they have a few more what we call uncommon foods on their list because we're really looking at the nutrients in the foods. So sometimes people will get a food that just is packed with nutrients, but they just weren't expecting. So we do have filters where you can further personalize it. So if you have like a different allergy or a food that you really just don't like, you can remove them from your list yourself.
Okay, awesome. We had a question just come in. This person has asked, how is this program different from the Eat Right for Your Blood Type diet or program?
Yeah, so we get that question sometimes. So for a blood type, there's really only 4 different blood types. When it comes to DNA, there's, like we said, hundreds of different genes we're analyzing, and in each gene, there's a handful of different variants. So the different variants in each gene are then, if you think of all the different genes and then all the possibility or combinations of variants you could have, it's almost like no comparison. We're really getting super personal versus, like I said, blood types, there's just kind of 4. And from my understanding, there isn't quite as much substantial research backing that. So this really is kind of, there's tons of peer-reviewed research studies that are looked at here.
Similarly, we've talked a lot about optimal foods or optimal foods for your DNA type, but can GenoPalate actually uncover any food sensitivities or allergies as well?
Great question. So based in genetics, we can't diagnose anything. So things like allergies or sensitivities, it's not the best kind of route to go. However, when it comes to a couple, we can see like strong connections. So gluten and lactose are the 2 sensitivities we can we do have evidence for. Same thing with caffeine and alcohol metabolism. Outside of that, though, right now, there isn't anything else to go off of. But yeah, for gluten and lactose, there are results for that.
You touched on it a little bit towards the end, but I know GenoPalate has some supplements and other recommendations to make beyond just food. So can GenoPalate actually recommend the right supplement for you, like daily supplement needs?
Great question too. Yeah, so we are able to take your genetic nutrition recommendations as well as your age, gender, and eating habits. And we do have a personalized supplement based on those things. So that's something that once you have your results, you can purchase as an option, definitely to help kind of bridge those gaps too.
Awesome.
And then, we just came out with, I almost forgot, a protein and fiber powder, which is based in genetics as well in terms of your protein or fiber needs.
Excellent. We've had a couple more questions come in about your section talking about meal planning.
Yeah.
We have one of our listeners is new to meal planning and is just wondering how many meals in the course of a week should they really look at trying to plan for?
Yeah, so that's where I really like to, again, think about what your week looks like. So start with kind of, all right, what meals do I already have accounted for? And then from there, you're left with, let's say, X amount of meals that you don't have accounted for. And then for someone who's new to meal planning, I usually suggest starting small and not taking on too much at once. So if you're someone that never cooks at all, let's start with one meal a week and then kind of increase from there. The other thing I love, and not everyone loves this, is leftovers. So if you can cook at least enough for that one time you're cooking, then at least you'll have meals taken care of for a few extra times as well. But yeah, again, starting small, not taking on too much too soon, and then slowly increasing from there.
Great advice. I did want to pause for just a second. I do see that somebody has their hand raised, but if you could drop your question in the chat in the Q&A section at the bottom of the screen, we can answer it that way. So quick reminder there. Back to meal planning though, we also have a question coming in. If you're meal planning for one and maybe don't want a lot of leftovers, do you have any tips for those?
Sorry, say that again. I accidentally pressed something.
Oh, no problem. This person was wanting to know if you have any tips if you're meal planning for just one person, particularly if you don't want leftovers 4 times in a row, you know?
Ooh, great question. Because yeah, I was gonna say leftovers are great for if it's one person. If you're someone that is okay with freezing meals, that's another option. So then you could do you could cook, freeze some of those so it's leftovers a different time. If you're kind of changing it up, that's one option. The other thing is keeping it simple. So maybe if you did some more of the kind of mixed in some of those more prepared meals with the times that you cook. But yeah, cooking for one, if you don't like leftovers, ends up being a little bit more cooking on your end, which if you're okay with, then that's great. Then you just kind of keep having multiple times that you're cooking. But yeah, figuring out ways to make the leftovers a little bit more fun is maybe another option too, whether it's with a different sauce or something to kind of make it a little bit more fun could help too.
Okay. We had a question come in here too about the costs. She's wanting to know if it's a subscription service after the DNA analysis is done.
So the DNA analysis itself, the nutrition DNA analysis, is not a subscription. So that's just a one-time cost of, let's say the kit, I believe right now is $179. If you did eDNA, it's a little less. The subscription comes in if you wanted to for either the personalized vitamins or the protein powder. Both of those have a one-time purchase option though, so it doesn't have to be a subscription. But to answer your question, it's not a subscription in terms of the DNA kit.
All right, we've got another question. She's looking for, or perhaps he, it's an anonymous submission, is looking for quick meals for one, the kind of thing you can throw together on the fly combos that you yourself might recommend to some of your customers.
On the fly. Well, I mentioned one of my favorites is breakfast for dinner, omelets. Love that, to kind of just throw leftovers in there, or not leftovers, like whatever veggie is kind of happening. The other one I love is a kind of a hodgepodge salad. So if you do have a nice dressing that you like, then just kind of putting in whatever's there in the fridge. I don't know if for me, I like to like things like legumes in my salad, maybe a little cheese or whatever vegetables are in there, and then definitely a protein, but kind of just throwing it all in a nice big salad with a good dressing. Or I'm a really big fan of bowls. So if a Chipotle bowl or something to that extent. So having your carb, veggie, protein, and then some sort of healthy fat or sauce dressing. and kind of just having it in a bowl form. I always just kind of throw together things like that. Definitely one of my favorites.
We have a couple questions coming in about the meal kits themselves. One question is, do we have any plans in the future for low sodium meals?
Oh, wonderful question. Definitely something that we could think about in terms of health goals. I know we want to kind of branch out and get some more health goals that are focused on. So right now, like I said, it's just the weight management and athletic performance. But definitely down the road, I would hope something like heart health, which would take sodium into account, could be a possibility.
Can you talk a little bit more with the meals themselves about the variety of meals and maybe what comes with them? We haven't really gone into detail about the flavors, and I know they change out every month, so maybe we could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so because they're in the deli case, so there's like you could kind of mix and match technically if you wanted to there. But in the grab and go ones, they're focused on a main and two sides. And with things like I think I'm trying to think what last month was. Blanking on that one, but things like we have like legumes and nice salads and a protein. The weight management ones are going to be filled with protein and fiber, healthy fats and complex carbs. The athletic performance ones are more so going to be like your starchy carbohydrates, proteins, omega-3, and important kind of helpful recovery nutrients. So did that answer the question?
I think so. Yeah. All right, last call for questions. It looks like our Q&A is drying up a little bit, but if anybody else has something burning on their mind, certainly drop it into the chat. Otherwise, I will throw it back over to Laurie.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, we do have a great variety of meals and sides in our deli case at Earth Fare. For the month of June, we're actually featuring Greek meatballs with roasted red pepper sauce, Mediterranean bean salad, and Brussels sprout slaw. So that all comes in a meal that you can just grab, take, heat it up in the oven or the microwave. And then we have an almond crusted salmon with vegetable quinoa and a lentil salad with yellow squash. So those two meals are in the grab and go. And then we're adding for this month a spicy baked tofu with lemon mint quinoa and rosemary sweet potato fries. And again, you can get the kits in the grab and go, or we'll have a plethora of those sides, everything that we mentioned right in the deli case. It'll be branded as GenoPalate, so you'll see the tags inside the deli case as well. And we have a very knowledgeable staff on site to help answer any questions and point you in the right direction. And please stop by our wellness department if you are interested in learning more, if you want more interaction versus just going to a website, which of course you can always do, but we do have a team that's trained on site and ready to talk a little bit more about both the meals and how the program works in general. Right now we are doing a special. You can save 20% with the code EarthFair20. You can go to genopalate.com/earthfair to purchase your kit. Again, if you do have existing DNA from maybe another platform such as Ancestry.com, you can upload that DNA and the cost will go down a little bit as well. But this is good for all of our viewers. And if you would like to share this presentation with someone that maybe couldn't attend today, we will be putting this up on our YouTube channel. We'll send out the link in our email newsletter as well. But please, if you're interested, take advantage. You know, this is really where the grocery industry is heading. We're really being a leader and an innovator within the industry with personalized nutrition. We want your grocery store to become a destination for education and health, and more than just a place where you go and get food, throw it in your cart and go home. We want to educate and help you on your health journey. So with that, Frankie, thank you so much for joining us today. We really had a great time, some great tips here, and it's a wonderful program, and I think it's helping hundreds of thousands of people right now.
Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. Well, again, we will send this video out. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop by any of our locations, or you can send an email to events@earthfair.com and we'll be happy to get back with you. But I hope everyone has a happy and healthy week, and we will see you next time. Thank you.
Bye.